The baby's wail tore through the night air like a mournful whistle across empty plains. Wrapped in tattered cloth, the infant shivered on the cold wooden steps outside the Dry Creek jail, eyes wide and red-rimmed, lips trembling with every desperate cry. No mother in sight, only the faint echo of chains and the distant creak of the swinging doors inside the jail, where men nursed whiskey and whispered threats. A figure appeared on the horizon, silhouetted against the dim glow of lanterns from the town. Colt Harding, rancher and seldom interferer, stopped at the crest of the hill, hand brushing the worn leather of his saddle. His eyes scanned the scene. A newborn left alone, danger tucked into every shadow, and the sheriff nowhere near responsibility. He could hear the baby's cries climbing, mingling with the soft groans of the townsfolk emerging from the saloon and general store, drawn by the sound but hesitant, afraid of what awaited. Colt squinted into the darkness. The child wasn't just abandoned, it was deliberately left, a message, a punishment for someone he didn't yet know. "Who leaves a newborn in the dark?" a voice muttered from a doorway behind him. A drifter, teeth yellowed, hands twitching nervously near a knife. Colt's jaw tightened. He was used to disputes over land, cattle, debts, but this? Innocence left defenseless in plain sight? That was a line even he couldn't ignore. He spurred his horse down the dusty path, boots scuffing rocks, dust rising in small clouds. Lantern light flickered against the jail's rough-hewn timbers, shadows stretching long over the crying infant. He dismounted, breathing slow, steady, forcing calm into his veins. His hand rested near the revolver at his hip. A whisper came from the jail's barred window. "You shouldn't touch that child." Colt didn't answer. He knelt beside the baby, inspecting the small frame. Hunger, cold, and fear clung to the infant like a second skin. Behind him, footsteps approached, soft, deliberate, a figure stepping from shadow into the dim lantern light. "Evenin', rancher," a voice said low and gravelly. The figure paused, hand near its hip, eyes locked on the baby. Colt's hand instinctively tightened on his revolver. The night air seemed to thicken, the baby's cries rising as if warning of the storm to come. And then a second shadow joined the first, moving slowly across the steps, boots creaking on the wood. Colt knew the choice he would have to make in the next heartbeat: reach for safety, or step into a danger that could change everything. The baby's cry pitched higher. Colt's eyes swept between the infant and the two figures approaching. Both were strangers to Dry Creek, their presence deliberate, carrying the menace of outlaws who had no patience for innocence. Colt's hand hovered near the gun, but his instinct screamed he couldn't shoot into the dark with the baby between them. "Move along," Colt said, voice steady but low. "That child doesn't belong in this fight." The first man spat into the dirt, smirking. "Looks like the rancher's soft. You gonna protect it or let it die like the rest?" Colt's stomach tightened. Protecting the baby meant defying the town's expectations. Dry Creek prided itself on self-preservation, and any man stepping beyond that line risked ridicule or death. Yet he couldn't leave the infant there. Not with the cold night air biting, nor the drifter's sneer promising violence. He glanced at the baby. Tiny fists flailed, a helpless life pinned between the stones and shadows. He realized the stakes weren't just survival, they were moral. To protect this child was to declare he was more than a man with cattle and land. He would stake his reputation, even his life, on it. "Step back," Colt said again, sliding his hand down to rest visibly on the gun but not drawing it. "I swear by the plains, I won't let harm come to this one." The two men exchanged a glance, laughter sharp but hesitation flickered in their eyes. Not all men could read the fire in Colt's gaze. Footsteps sounded from the main street, other townsfolk peeking from doors, drawn by the baby's cries. Rumors had already begun to ripple, Harding, the lone rancher, stepping in where the law failed. A sudden metallic rattle came from inside the jail, the sheriff's keys dropping, or perhaps a trap. Colt didn't know. Every second counted, and indecision could cost the baby its life. "Make a choice," the first man growled. "Protect it, and risk your hide, or leave it, and we'll see who laughs last." Colt inhaled, letting the cool night wash over him. He could feel the weight of Dry Creek watching him, weighing his every move. He gritted his teeth, placing a firm hand on the baby's back, steadying it. "I've made my choice," he said, voice ringing clear, "and no man or town will change it." The drifter lunged suddenly, boots pounding on the wood. Colt's gun cleared leather. Shadows stretched longer. Something in the dark moved, quiet, deliberate. A third figure, neither ally nor stranger, was approaching, and Colt knew the night had only just begun. The third figure revealed himself, a lawman, badge glinting faintly in lantern light, face unreadable. Colt froze. Was he friend or foe? "Hands off, Harding," the lawman said. His voice carried authority but no warmth. "Step aside. That child's evidence now belongs to the court." Colt's jaw tightened. Evidence? Of what? The child's mother nowhere in sight, her absence a haunting question. The sheriff stepped forward, but his eyes flicked nervously to the outlaws. The drifter growled, stepping closer, but Colt shifted, placing the baby protectively behind him. He could feel every heartbeat, every tremor of fear. The town watched silently. Saloon doors creaked, horses shifted nervously. Hooves clattered on the main street as others lingered in the shadows, waiting for blood or justice. Colt knew he couldn't win in a straight fight. The odds were stacked. 2 outlaws, 1 hesitant lawman, and a baby whose life depended on his decisions. Yet his pulse was steady. He had no choice but to bluff. "You want a fight?" Colt said quietly. "You'll have it, but that child doesn't." A tense silence. Then the drifter snorted, drawing a knife slowly. The lawman hesitated, realizing Colt's resolve. Colt lifted his revolver, pointing squarely toward the knife. He didn't fire yet, just enough to hold them. He heard a soft gasp. The baby had stopped crying, eyes wide at the faces, the tension, the looming threat. The standoff stretched seconds into eternity. Colt felt the weight of every gaze on him, every potential gun in holsters, every silent judgment of Dry Creek pressing down. Then, from the shadows, a familiar voice whispered, a townsman who had followed Colt from the ranch. "He won't let harm come. Trust him." The drifter and lawman paused, uncertainty rippling across their faces. Colt's breath was slow now, deliberate. He had created a moment where hesitation could save the infant's life. One step, then another. The lawman stepped back, nodding slightly. The drifter backed off, snarling but cautious. Colt exhaled, but the danger hadn't left. The night still held threats, and every decision from here on would determine if Dry Creek would witness justice, chaos, or tragedy. Colt carried the baby toward the ranch, lantern swinging, dust rising with every step. Silence had fallen over Dry Creek, broken only by distant whispers of admiration and fear. The child's tiny body was warm against his chest. He reached the barn, placed the baby gently in a clean blanket. The soft cooing broke the tension. Colt knelt, inspecting the bundle with care, brushing stray hair from a dirt-smudged face. "I've got your back," he whispered. The words felt heavier than any gun he had fired, weightier than any showdown he'd faced. Hours passed. He fed the child, wrapped it in warmth, and realized how fragile life could be in a land where men claimed justice with guns. Here, a human connection, a life entrusted to him, meant more than any reputation, more than any fight. A knock on the barn door. Colt's hand hovered over the revolver, but a familiar face appeared, a young widow from town, her hands trembling, eyes cautious. She had seen the standoff, and she knelt beside the baby, offering a soft smile. "You're safe," she whispered. The words were both a question and comfort. Colt nodded. "For now. But the world outside isn't as kind." They shared a quiet meal, the baby nestled between them. Silence was comfortable, loaded with shared understanding. Colt realized this child and perhaps this woman represented a chance for something beyond survival: trust, care, human truth. Outside, shadows lingered. Threats might return, and town gossip would not forget. But in this small, dimly lit barn, hope was tangible. Morning light painted the plains golden. Colt rode into Dry Creek, baby safely swaddled, eyes curious and bright. The town watched, murmuring about the rancher who dared protect innocence when the law turned its back. The drifter had left town, but whispers of vengeance lingered. The sheriff, shamed and cautious, offered no interference. Colt placed the baby into the widow's arms, their faces reflecting relief and newfound trust. "Not alone anymore," Colt said, voice steady. The widow nodded, eyes glistening, holding the infant tightly. Weeks passed. The ranch became a haven, the child growing under Colt's watchful eye. Word spread. Dry Creek had a rancher whose heart weighed more than his gun. Respect followed, though not without grudging murmurs from men who valued toughness over humanity. Years later, the child would run through open fields, laughter ringing, unaware of the night her life had hung by the thread of a man's resolve. Colt and the widow worked the land together, a quiet family formed in a town that once ignored cries in the dark, and every evening Colt placed his gun on the table inside the ranch house, a silent reminder. Protection could be more than violence. It could be courage, choice, and care. The final frame lingered. The sun dipped behind the plains, casting long shadows across the empty porch. Colt stood there, the baby's blanket tucked neatly over his arm, eyes scanning the horizon. A rocking chair swayed gently in the breeze, empty, as if waiting for the stories yet to unfold. Dry Creek breathed around him, a town changed not by bullets, but by the quiet courage of one man who decided enough was enough.